Welcome back to our series on demystifying IPv4 subnetting, and it's time for us to take a look at a Class B example. And you're probably thinking not much is going to change, and that's exactly correct. Yeah, we're not going to change anything, and the only thing that gets a little tricky here for us and something we need to pause and think about would be the host addressing. Yeah, the host addressing is going to flow over multiple octets. So that's really what the difference is here. So let's take a very simple example to get started. So we first think, okay, how many bits are we going to be using for the subnets? And let's start with a very simple example. We are going to use just a single bit for our subnets. This is going to enable us to create two networks. And therefore, what would the subnet mask be? Well, it would be 255, 255, 128. Yeah, using that one bit of subnetting in that third octet, giving us two networks. And what are those subnetworks? Well, the block size would be 128. Yeah, so our networks are 172.16.00 and 172.16.128.0. So notice how easy this is. Nothing changes. How many bits deep did we go with our subnetting? It was just one. That makes our block size 128. Now it's time to think about the possible host addresses. So our first network is 172.16.00, and the first usable would be 0.1, and this would go up to 127.254. 127.255 would be the broadcast for that subnetwork. So now our next network begins at 172.16.128. Notice it's going to be 172.16.128.1 and then go to 172.16.255.254 for our usable host addresses. Once again, .255 would be the broadcast. If you were to look at the binary of the host bits in the first usable and the last usable, you can see how easy this is. Yeah, for that network, for the first usable, we are setting all of the host bits to zeros except the least significant far right bit. And then as you can see, when we're doing the last usable address, everything will be set to ones except that very last bit. So it just gets a little tricky when we have to think about the usable host addressing. And one of the reasons that is, by the way, is there's so many usable host addresses. Yeah, you were probably thinking about that. If we are utilizing just that first bit in the third octet for subnetting, that leaves how many bits left for host identification? Well, that would be 7 plus 8. That would be 15 bits. We would have to get out a calculator in order to figure out how many hosts each of these networks can accommodate. It would be 2 raised to the 15th power and then minus 2. So we can accommodate 32,766 hosts per subnetwork in this addressing scheme. Yeah, lots of available host addresses thanks to lots of available host bits. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll be joining me in our next episode here in this series.